Brandi knows, and my mom knows. He didn't want to do a tag team with my brother and I because he knew they're both two selfish brats, and they're just gonna fight and talk behind each other's backs. And he knew that it was going that way. So this event that has all this like love and this wonderful moment, I try not to really say anything about it anymore because I like how you guys remember it better than how I remember it, because I remember coming out to somebody else's music, even though it was someone of an absolutely legendary status. I remember the next day, you and your brother are going to be together, and that's kind of like my worst fear. I remember it differently, but when people tell me how I love that moment, and that's all that matters. It's not you're paying the money. I'm not, it definitely matters what the performer feels and stuff, but I was glad people got something out of it. And you mentioned his belt. And Brandi knows this. He was specifically told, do not take off your belt. Because his pants were falling down. Like, legit pants were falling down. And God bless Dean Ambrose, because Dean was like, he does this weird, like, kind of like, all of us would panic. Like, do I run it, Dusty? What do I do? He's going to elbow me, but he's not ready. And then he, like, threw his hat at Dean's face. And, like, it was really masterful between the two of them. But Jamie Noble, don't take that belt off. No. And he took it off, and, oh, man.
I got a great Dusty pants story. The last Hall of Fame that he attended, Cody was Stardust, so he couldn't attend. So Dusty and I went together.
I refused to go.
Well, yeah. There's that. Let's just tell real stories. Yeah, he didn't want to go. So you said to me, make sure my dad walks out there. Make sure he does the full walk, because unbeknownst to us, he really wasn't feeling well then. He would tell me stuff, and I would just push as much as I could with it, but I knew where his limitations were. I knew I could get him to fully participate in the Hall of Fame with a hell of a lot of pushback. So that was kind of the first moment that he was snippy with me, because I remember the photographer asked, hey, Dusty, can you get up and take pictures, with your daughter-in-law? And he said, no. And then he looked over and saw my face, and he goes, yeah, sure, okay. And he got up and came over, and I kept saying to him the whole time, Dusty, please for me, this would be so important to me. Like, can we walk together out there? That would make me so happy. And then when Michael Cole said, hey, we got to do this live interview on the network, he was like, no, And I was like, Dusty, this is my first time to be on the network not interviewing somebody, so do it for me. Please come up here with me. And he's like, okay. But right before we went to walk out on the carpet, his pants started falling down because he wouldn't wear his belt. And your mom was walking behind him, and she said, hey, hun, your pants are falling down. And he said, I don't give a shit. And she said, okay, and just let him walk out there. So as we walked, I just kept checking to make sure he wasn't just suddenly with them on his ankles, because that would have been a moment. But he made it. He made it. They didn't fall.
He would have made it work. It's so funny. You mentioned my mom. When he did the stuff with Battleground and the build-up and the promo with Stephanie and all that, he was 67 years old, I think. And he was an older man, and he'd come home and ask my mom. I'm going to tell you about my mom here in a second. Some of you might already know about my mom. So he'd ask about how'd I look. Well, you look old. You get a tan? And then she'd like grab his neck and be like, you got this like this turkey neck thing here. Maybe higher shirts, and just, whew, like you could see him just deflate inside. Like, shouldn't have asked you. But anyways, have you guys seen the movie Despicable Me? Have you seen the movie? All right, at the beginning, man, Gru, he builds these rockets, and his mom just thinks everything, just nothing of it. Just, whatever. That woman is my mother. Nothing can pop her in wrestling. And if you do, you are absolutely something special. She was nicknamed Stern-Faced Lady by somebody watching the network because they said, who was sitting next to Stern-Faced Lady? It was...
me.
Yeah, Brandi Rhodes sitting next to Stern-Faced Lady because she sits like this. And you think like, oh, she must be mad. Nah, right? What's happening here? The film in the projector is she's judging you. And she's judging you just real hard. We go to do the big statue unveiling of the Dusty Rhodes statue. And Brandi's family is there, my whole extended family, people who pretend to be in my family. Kevin Owens was randomly
there.
Owens, who I love dearly, is randomly in the ring. And I could see Zack Ryder, who's one of my other friends, was thinking like, what the fuck? Like, what? Anyway, so Dustin and I pulled the sheet off, and I had already seen the statue, and I was impressed with it, and I was honored by it. That was the 4th statue at the time, and it's just emotional. We pull it off, and we're looking at it, and see some fans crying, and I'm welling up with tears, and I'm so glad that my mom was not that close to the microphone, because you can hear her. I could hear her from like... And some people heard her. You just hear her go, That don't look nothing like him. So now this emotional moment is totally fake. I'm just like crying. I'm like, I wanted to be like, hey mom, fucking pretend here, okay? Like the fans want it, like pretend. And they after this terrible statue unveiling where she just stared at it in judgment of the photo they chose to use for the mold. She goes backstage, and they're waiting to let the next access session in, and she's just staring at it. Just staring. And there's like a photographer who wanted to take her picture, thinking, oh, this is a good moment. But you could see, like, he was scared of her too. Like, oh, nah, I won't. And then finally she just, like, came up and gave it a little pat, and that's big. That's big from my mom. I thought for All In, for Starrcast, I told Conrad and his whole staff at Starrcast, I said, my mother's coming. My mother is coming. She needs to have her key right away. Make sure the person who gives her a key is friendly. Make sure she gets swag, lots of swag. If you don't give her free shit, oh, well, at WrestleMania, I got like 3 hats. I didn't get nothing. If you don't give her the stuff, it has to be a suite. Give her a suite. So they're just lined up for her. And here comes the fucking Queen of England into the room. And like, the fans are having a good time. And even when she walks by, these fans, I notice, who are like kind of wrestling, like literally like lean back as she walks by. She's like 4 feet tall. It doesn't make any sense. And so I thought, I kept asking her, what do you think? My name is literally on the menu at the bar at the hotel. Like, it's a themed menu option, and a Pharaoh's fries for my dog. And it's like, I thought she'd be really into it. The only thing from All In that remotely mattered to her was Earl Hebner. She saw Earl, hey! And they had this whole moment, and then right back to just... No.